to the Finance Committee meeting for January 26, 2021. So the first item on the agenda is called to order. So we have quorum. Next, we move to the approval of the minutes for the January 12, 2021 Finance Committee meeting. So do I have a motion?
Motion to move.
Any
Motion to approve.
question?
Excuse me.
Any questions? No? All those in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Nays, the motion carried. Next is public appearances for non-agenda items. Do we have anyone on the chambers?
No, ma'am, we do not.
Online? On the telephone?
Nobody else online.
No, okay. So next. So next is the finance director report. So Misty.
Yeah, so included in your packet tonight is the November treasurer's report. Biggest thing to note there is that we are moving some CDs again. So we had 3 CDs, I think it was, mature, that we reinvested for a significantly lower interest rate, but it's something that we continue to monitor and keep up on our ladder to try to weather this storm. For the December treasurer's report, we'll provide the first pages, the ones that talk about our cash balances by accounts, but the financial statements I don't include because they're still in that pre-close stage. There's a lot of end of year steps that we have to make. So before we put out information that's not accurate or is not complete, we like to give ourselves some time to get through those other procedures. So for December and January, you'll have just kind of those first few pages. I don't know, does anybody have any questions on the November treasurer's report?
I don't.
Gabriela.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that multiple.
Who go first? Randy, do you have a question?
No, I'm just stating I do not have a question.
Okay, Gabriela has a question. Okay, thank you.
I guess I'm just curious about Misty about the wrapping up for for the 2020 calendar year. Because this is the November report, obviously. Are the December numbers kind of in and are just like we have to do some analysis on them before they're released, or what is the timeline looking like that for those final numbers?
Yeah, so the auditors are here the second, I think it's the second week in March. And so we have until about middle of March to really finalize all of our numbers, get them cleaned up, ready to go, documentation ready for the auditors to come. At that point then, or at least once I have a pretty good comfort level in the numbers, that's when I would feel comfortable releasing them to the public, still pre-audit, but at least they're in really good shape. And then the auditors are here, and then we would know pretty quickly if there were any adjustments that needed to be factored in after that. And then I would start releasing reports again.
Sounds great. Thanks.
Any other question for Misty? No? Okay.
The only,
Thank you.
the only other thing to report on is the property tax deadline. So January 31st is when at least the first installment for real estate taxes are due and the personal property in full is due. That does fall on a Sunday this year. So that means that the due date is actually on Monday. So we will continue to be open for in-person by appointment over at the community center on Monday as well. And then we accept stuff in the Dropbox through Monday and then postmark through Monday, except anything that's not in our hands at the end of the day Monday. If it's postmarked, we send it off to the county. So they also honor the postmark.
So what is it? Do you have an idea what is the percentage of taxes collected so far? No?
I don't at this point. I could gather that for you.
Oh, I'm just curious. To see if there is any decline because of COVID and,
Yeah, so at the end of the year, so we have a big chunk of the bills that are paid in the calendar year because people want to take it on their income taxes.
Yeah.
That amount was really about the same as what we've seen other years. It didn't seem like there was much impact from COVID because of that. If that continues to hold true, then I don't know. We'll see how this installment shakes out.
Okay, so thank you. Next, we move to the review of the bills. So first, we're going to go to the detailed review of all check for $10,000 and above, dated January 1st, 2021 to January 15, totally $666,718 with 84 cents. Any questions?
I do have one question.
Gabriela, yeah.
I'm looking at page 41 of the packet, page 1 of that report, towards the bottom, the Kale engineering charge for the Meyer TIA review. I'm curious what that's about.
Yes, so due to staffing constraints, we hired out that project. And as you know, the project has fallen through at this point, so it was a cost that the city has to absorb.
Got it. So normally that's something that the developer might reimburse us for if they ended up purchasing the property, or is it's just something that happens?
So usually our internal staff would do that work, but because of staffing constraints, we had to hire it.
What does it mean, TIA? What type of report?
Traffic impact analysis.
Oh, traffic.
Oh, it's because we didn't have Andrew on board as the senior transportation engineer. Okay.
And frankly, Bill didn't have the time to absorb it, and it had a relatively quick turnaround.
Got it. Thanks.
And that is the full cost. It's not just a partial payment.
Okay.
That's the full cost.
And it's only 2,500. It's in this grouping because the total bill to Kale Engineering was over 10,000, even though that's part of it. Okay, sounds good.
Any other question regarding this batch? Okay. So next we move to the detailed review of all checks issued, check number 121573-121621, dated January 1st, 2021 to January 15, totaling $766,256.45. Okay, any question there? No? Okay. So next we move to the next batch, the detailed review of P-card transaction for $10,000 and above for the cycle ending November 6, 2020, totaling $114,068. This one is Pelletieri. Okay, so next we move to the next batch, detailed review of P-card transaction for $10,000 and above for the cycle ending December 7, 2020, with a total of $114,228.40. This one is another Pelletieri, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yep.
And then we move to the next batch, review of P-card transaction for the cycle ending November 6, 2020, totaling $256,141.89. Any question there? No? Okay. And next we move to the last batch, the review of the P-card transaction for the cycle ending December 7, 2020, totaling $253,466.16. Any question there? No? Okay, we're done. So then we move to the action item. Then I need a motion to approve resolution. Okay, here is Misty. So yep. I need a motion to defer to February 23rd, resolution R-89-20.
So I'll give some background quick. So Board of Public Works at the meeting last night postponed this to their, not next week, but the week after that meeting.
Mm-hmm.
So they've asked that we also postpone here and at council until February 23rd.
I will move to defer the resolution to the February 23rd Finance Committee meeting.
So postpone.
Postpone, okay.
Postpone.
I moved to postpone.
Sorry. Yeah, it was my
89-20 to the February 28th Finance meeting.
Does that require a second?
Nope.
No.
So,
All those in favor say aye.
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 Nays, the motion carries. Next, I am looking for a resolution for a motion to approve resolution R-214-20, 2021 Dane County contract for senior center services.
Motion to approve.
Okay, Misty, this is the funding for the senior center, isn't it?
Yes, so this is another resolution that you guys would see every year to accept the contract from Dane County for the senior center services we provide, portion of which is reimbursed from the county through that grant. The amounts are the same as last year at this point. What usually happens though is we'll get notice of subsequent increases in the dollar amount as the county goes through its budget process. So there is language in that resolution that if there are future addendums that solely increase the amount that we will receive with no other changes in terms, that we would be able to approve those administratively without coming back to you.
And usually, how much are those increases? Like 1%, 2%, something like that, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not much. It's in the memo that Jill has in there. So last year, for example, the case management one was 45,000, and they did an addendum for another 1,600. So it's relatively small, but it's still, obviously, we'll take whatever increases they'll give us because we can put that to good use with the services we provide.
Any question? Okay, all those in favor of resolution R-214-20 say aye.
Aye.
Nays, the motion carry. Next, I need a motion to approve resolution R-01-21, authorization for the 2021 income operating and maintenance cost.
I move to approve.
Okay, Misty? This is another annual renewal.
Chief Pogmacher is here, actually, if you want him to give a
Oh,
thing.
okay.
Yeah, so just to give you a little bit of a heads up, DaneCom is the radio system that police, fire, EMS, and our streets department uses. It's a countywide program. So the next three resolutions are sort of inclusive because of the fact that it's our total radio system. To give you a little bit of a background, DaneCom came out with a system that was basically an overarching radio program that served all of Dane County. While that was being adopted, there were some spots in Fitchburg that were recognized as being, for lack of a better term, dead spots with radio traffic, which is why we have an enhancement payment. And then because of the fact that that is a digital system, we also have a backup for an analog system. So if one system goes down, we still have the ability to communicate. And they're all housed at different sites throughout the city. So to give you a little bit of a background, if we didn't have enhancements in Fitchburg, our closest antennas would be in Verona and Madison West, and then there's some a little bit further east that I haven't been able to track down. With the enhancements, we have antennas on McHugh Road, down on MM, closer to WMGN's antenna, and then we have the WB57 and the Commerce Park sites that address our analog. So the resolution before you right now is the maintenance cost that everybody in Dane County pays for radio upkeep and operating.
Okay, thank you. Any question?
I have a question.
Randy?
Chief, you mentioned everyone in Dane County pays. Is that an equal share, or if not, what determines that it's not?
That's a good question. I think it's based on usage, who's using the platform. Not all departments use DaneCom, and most of the public safety, if not all of the public safety elements, use DaneCom. Madison has a slightly different platform that isn't necessarily on the same grid. And I'm not a radio guy. I'd like to think I dabble, but when it comes to explaining the nuances, I'm very vague in my approach, other than the fact that the costs for the operation and maintenance of the system are distributed in a way that reflects how the system is being used by the municipality.
And one other question: if you said Madison is not on DaneCom,
so there's 800. There's digital. There's a number of, well, you're very well versed in radios, so you know the different frequencies that radios are transmitted on, and Madison is on a slightly different frequency. They require almost like a bridge to be able to communicate between Madison and the rest of the Dane County public safety entities. So they are connectable, but they're not the same.
But they're obviously, we are all in communication. We're all in sync when it's necessary.
Yeah, absolutely. And those connections are typically made through the comm center.
Okay, thank you.
Any other question? Okay. All those in favor of resolution R-01-21, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Nays? The motion carried. Next, I need a motion to approve resolution R-02-21, authorization for the 2021 Dane Com Fitchburg enhancement payment.
Motion to approve.
Okay,
So this enhancement is the portion of the system that was specifically installed for Fitchburg. Now, other municipalities do use it because it's all part of the DaneCom system, and there's no way to select which vehicles get to bounce off of those tower sites. So one of the things that we are attempting to do is to address Fitchburg's overall responsibility for these sites moving forward, but I don't have all the information. I know that the city administrator was working on it along with Dane County, and we're continuing to have talks with their radio folks to address our overall responsibility for that site. But right now, because of the fact that it was put in for Fitchburg, and we paid for the equipment, we are responsible for the maintenance. So that's the best I can. We do have a stronger system because of it, but we're not the only ones that use it.
So, okay, so what you're telling me is that we are paying $79,000, but other municipalities are also using, but without paying.
Yep, mostly us, but others use.
Okay.
Question. So it's a collaboration with all those that are involved with DaneCom, but there is no way for us to determine the usage in order to apply it to the maintenance.
Yeah.
At least at this point.
So from a maintenance standpoint, we are looking at ways of addressing that in the long term. I mean, I don't necessarily want to be in the business of replacing equipment when it ages, but that's something that has to be agreed upon at the county and the city levels to make sure that whatever we're doing represents the best interests of both entities, and it's an ongoing conversation. Sure.
Okay.
So I want to understand. So this enhancement was made because this power, because we didn't have our frequency wasn't good enough, something like that.
If there's one thing my predecessor was very good at, because he still is very good at it, is radio communications, and he was able to determine a couple of different areas in our city
Okay.
that weren't able to communicate as well as other areas.
Okay.
And that's why the enhancements came.
Okay. Any other question? Okay, all those in favor of resolution R-02-21, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Nays. The motion carried. Next, I am looking for a motion to approve resolution R-05-21. It's a 2021 annual DaneCom radio maintenance. Okay.
Move to approve?
This one is for what? For the...
And so this is the analog system that enhances our ability to speak on the fire ground and EMS and police. This one is primarily public safety, but in the event that DaneCom goes down or is at capacity for whatever reason, natural disaster, man-made disaster, we have the ability to switch over to an analog system that puts redundancy into our communications. We use this a lot with our tactical communications. So when there's a fire, to get us off of the DaneCom system and to communicate between other mutual aid partners. And this too, and the reason why it's covered under the DaneCom maintenance is because all of it has to speak to each other.
Because of what? All of what?
All of the radios have to be able to communicate with each other. They need to be compatible, and typically that takes place through the comm center in Dane County Communications.
Question.
Yeah.
Now, this is for the analog, correct?
Correct.
Going forward, Misty, is it possible to identify the difference between the analog and the digital? Just for clarity purposes?
In the resolution title, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, Joe, could you make that note?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I just think it would simplify it. And I reached out earlier to you, Misty, today, just for clarification, and I think going forward, then it would just be a little clearer between analog. Maybe to me it would. I don't know about for others.
Yeah, and that, yeah, it's in the title, absolutely. And then I was just noticing that in the accounts, it's listed as such. So we'll make sure that the title is
okay
identified.
Okay, all those in favor of resolution R-05-21, say aye.
Aye.
Nays, the motion carried. Next, I am looking for a resolution for a motion to approve resolution R-06-21, a resolution authorizing payment to Dane County for monthly court assessments.
Motion to approve.
Okay, Misty.
So this one and the next one are both connected. They're very similar. So the money that we collect from the municipal court, a portion of it we are obligated to remit back to the county, and a portion we're obligated to remit back to the state. So these two resolutions are annual pre-approvals for the amount we're expecting for the whole year that we'll have to remit back to those two agencies. And we bring them to you as a way to try to streamline our process throughout the year.
Any question?
Oh, I do.
Gabriela.
So do we have to approve, if it ever we have to pay more than what we've authorized here? Does it have to come before council every month, or do we kind of clean up those inequities at the end of a quarter, or just curious about how it works?
Right, so the pre-approval limit is at $2,500 currently to need a pre-approval in general. So anytime that a payment would be over that amount, it would require this step. So we wanted to do a pre-approval, and then we figured we might as well do a whole year, and that it crossed that 25,000 threshold that needed to go to you guys. If payments are more than that, in theory, we have more money coming in as well, and it all goes in and out of the same account number. So it technically would not be required to be shared with you guys unless we go $25,000 more than what was authorized.
Got it. Yeah, I mean, it makes a lot of sense in terms of streamlining the staff work. So yeah, it sounds great. I just was curious about how it worked. Thanks.
Absolutely.
Any other question? So all those in favor of resolution R-06-21, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Nays, the motion carries. Next, as Misty mentioned, is similar, so I need approval of resolution R-07-21. Is a resolution authorizing payment to a state of Wisconsin for monthly court assessments.
I move to approve.
Any question? No? Okay. All those in favor of resolution R-07-21, say aye.
Aye.
Nays, the motion carried. Next, I need approval of resolution R-08-21. Is a final resolution exercising police powers and levying a special assessment for 2020 curb and gutter, sidewalk, and driveway replacement in the city of Fitchburg.
Motion to approve.
Okay, so Misty, you're going to talk about this?
Yeah. So this is a fairly routine item as well, even though there's that phrase in there, exercising police powers, which can sound pretty intimidating.
Yeah.
What it really is doing is we had our street project over the summer, our construction project, and that included some curb and gutter items and included some sidewalk items that we then place as a special assessment on the homeowner's house or on their property. And it's an actual lien against their property, goes on the tax bill if it's not paid, can be something that could become a problem if it's not paid in the future. So that's why there's that phrase, exercising police powers, because we're placing that lien on the property. A couple things to note about this particular one. So the beginning of the process is the council would approve a preliminary resolution, basically saying, yes, this is our plan. This is how much we think it's going to cost. There's a public hearing, all of that happens. Then we do the construction and we install the infrastructure. And then staff goes and figures out what those final quantities are and what the final costs are. And they put together this final report and present it to you and council to get that final okay that, yep, these are the final numbers that need to be the liens. One unique thing about this one is, as shown in the preliminary assessment report, it includes a 2-year interest-free deferral. So generally payments would be due right away or would start accruing interest with installments option. Because of COVID, staff recommended and council approved having that 2-year delay before payments are due, and also not charging interest during that time.
So, so what we're seeing in the report are practically 3 locations for that we are gonna assess, we're gonna do some work, isn't it?
So there's 5 parcels, we're right, 3
Yeah.
different property
Yeah,
owners.
3, yeah, mm-hmm. Okay. So this work is gonna be done during this summer, isn't it?
It
Correct?
was done last summer.
Ah,
we're at the
last
stage
summer.
now.
Okay, okay.
We're at the stage now where we're in the final report.
Oh, okay, okay, okay.
These are the final
Oh,
numbers.
fine. Okay,
Once this is approved, we'll send out the notices,
okay.
the invoices and stuff to the different property owners that are affected.
So for the new alders, they need to know that those parcels, they receive notification that the work was, we were planning to do this work. This is how it works. There is a process. It's not like we go there, do the work, and then we send the bill. They are already notified that we are doing all of this. So yes, Randy.
The question I have though is, if the work was done last summer, we're working through the process now. Is the property owner aware of what the charges will be, or but long before this? I mean, we're talking 6-7 months later.
Yep, so during that preliminary resolution process, when we put together what we think the numbers are going to be based on, measurings and estimated bids and that stuff. So they at least had a ballpark idea. And I don't know how much this one changed in total, but my guess is it was relatively similar within plus or minus.
Okay, so it's like any other forecast. If you have work done at your home, you get a preliminary, and
Yeah.
and then everything's reconciled and adjusted, and you get a final bill. Okay.
Yeah, this is not gonna be a surprise for them.
Yeah.
Okay, Gabriela.
Just curious about, so assessing has its own revenue stream, which I assume is all of these assessment payments that we collect. Is that right?
So these are special assessments, which is a little different than assessments. So special assessments go through the Public Works Department and will offset the cost that we spent in order to install these items.
Okay, so it's always coming in after at least a year after usually the year after the work is done. So it's just interesting that revenue stream is not necessarily directly tied to what's happening in the current year.
Yep, and so there's a few different scenarios. So one would be, if it was a current assessment, it could be due either right then or based on our special assessment policy, and based on the dollar amount of the special assessment, they might be able to do installments with interest that would go on their property tax bill. There are also some special assessments, not this one, but other ones that there might be a deferred option there. So for example, if there's a swath of ag property that had a road put in, we might defer that until development happens, or till the land is sold, or until something else happens. Then there really is a difference there. For larger ones, we borrow for that money. And then with the uptown roads, actually is a great example. So we put in the uptown roads, we're going to specially assess it back to the property owners, but we had to pay that $1 million up front. So I borrowed for that just this last month. And then we timed our payments of that debt back based on when I thought I was going to get those special assessment payments back from the other people.
Got it.
So very long-winded answer, probably more than what you were
Oh,
asking.
it's very interesting how that functions, so thanks.
Any other question? All those in favor of resolution R-08-21, say aye.
Aye.
Nays, the motion carried. Next, I am looking for approval of resolution R-10-21 is amending the 2021 general fund and capital project fund budget, delay the recreation staff vehicle due to the anticipated reduction in recreational programming fee revenue.
I
Okay.
move to approve.
Okay, so Misty and I think Scott is also here too for question.
Yep, so I'd like to start with just a reminder of how we got to this point.
Yes.
So we're towards the end of this budget amendment process now. So a couple meetings back, we had 4 different options in front of us to address the budget deficit we were expecting due to not being able to offer recreational programs as normal for 2021. So at that meeting, the layoff option was rejected. The reduction or removal of the cost of living adjustment for staff was rejected. And then one of the third options, there was 2 components to it, one for the parking lots and then one for the path maintenance. The path maintenance piece was rejected. The $75,000 amount-ish from the parking lots was approved and is done at that point. And it left the almost $18,000 deficit that we still had to account for. So the things that are in front of us at Finance Committee tonight is a 5th option that was presented by 2 alders. And that's what's actually on the agenda for our meeting. On council, you still have that 4th option from last time, which was a variety of items that the Parks team put together for your consideration. So both of those or all of those options will be available for council. But here at Finance, we only have this 5th option to talk about because we talked about those others at a prior meeting. So we do have about $18,000 that needs to be accounted for still. What this option looks at is there's 2 vehicles currently planned to be replaced in the Recreation Department in 2021. This amendment, if approved, would delay one of the vehicles. There's one vehicle that's in significantly worse shape than the other, but we would let staff make that choice about which vehicle would be delayed. And then the difference would continue to be levied in that project, and then the $18,000 to make up that difference next year would need to be included in the budget to actually move forward with that project next year. I'd say that both the other resolution from last time that was postponed and this resolution did go to Parks Commission. And so Scott's able to answer any questions you have about what their thoughts were. Otherwise, at the council meeting, I'm sure that liaison will share that perspective with you guys too. So at this point, I think from a Finance Committee's perspective is, what options do we like to see? Is this something that we think, or that you think is a good idea or not? And you would make that recommendation to council.
Okay, so I'm gonna go first to Scott. Scott?
Yes.
Okay. So my question to you is, what is park recommendation? What do they feel more comfortable? Like delaying the vehicle or delaying all of the other parks activity or whatever it is, services?
Well, in what and I'll let Sarah kind of speak about what the first priority was, but certainly the Park Commission felt that our 1021 was doable. That was okay. And then with the resolution R22420, which isn't on finance, but it actually had an operating budget component and then also a CIP component, and they didn't like the idea of the operational budget reduction, but were okay with the CIP suggestion recommendation from staff for that resolution. So in theory, the Park Commission was okay with two of the 3, and only one of the 3 is going to be needed in order to fulfill that 17,000 plus shortfall.
Can you refresh what is the CIP that is in the other package?
Yeah, those were the general park improvements. And I don't recall exactly the numbers, but it was a CIP that we had a balance that was carried forward. And actually, at the end of the day, we in January of this year, we had about $114,000 in that CIP account. And we only had, if I'm going from memory, $30,000 in outstanding projects. And I believe 20 or so that we've got scheduled for 2021. So in theory, we could do all of the projects that we had in that park improvement, that CIP, with the reduction of that 17,774, I believe it was. Hopefully that's clear. Maybe that's not, I did a good job of explaining that.
So practically you say that you have a bucket with $100,000 there in the CIP to do a couple of projects for the park system, but then you are okay that you can accomplish most of those projects if we take $17,000 out.
We could accomplish all of them.
Okay.
All of the ones that are listed. So that in theory would be I guess from staff, that would be my recommendation, that would be the best, because it wouldn't set us back at all.
Okay, so before I give my opinion to the other alders, what do you regarding the vehicle, so can you live without that vehicle for a couple of years, 1 or 2 years?
Certainly.
Okay. Randy, do you have a question?
Well, I don't know if it's a question. I mean, in the past, I've always been somewhat reluctant to deplete any type of replacement fund. I mean, they were set up for a purpose, and it seems like if we remove the money that was intended for, in this case, vehicles. Well, in most cases, vehicles. It seems like we're just kicking the can down the road. But I realize that what we're trying to accomplish, and that's to save jobs. But now, Scott, you're mentioning the other, and I don't have that in front of me as well, but you're mentioning it from one of the other options that's not before us now. Almost sounds as if we can accomplish everything we need on that list and still use some of that money to maintain staff. And am I correct on that?
You are correct, Randy. You are correct. And actually, I believe if my memo is included in the resolution 22420 background, I think I indicated that account and those things in that memo.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
The only thing I would like to clarify is that CIP project as well is set up as a replacement fund too. So that's the money that would be used to pay for, if a playground structure needs to be replaced, all those other things. We've been accumulating funds to do those too. Not that I'm trying to stop you from making that decision. I just want to make sure that, yes, the list of current projects is less than the money that's in there, but some of that money was designed to be saved up for future bigger projects.
Yeah, okay. Gabriela, and then I'm gonna make some comment. Okay, yes.
And I still comment on that afterwards.
Okay.
I guess, Scott, could you summarize the conversation on the Parks Commission about this? Was it a unanimous support vote? Was there some certain significant doubts from several of the committee members, or was it pretty unanimous?
It was pretty unanimous in what I just shared, that they were okay with resolution 1021. And they were in favor. They actually struck, if you look at the referral page in the resolution, I think I did strike the operating budget component of resolution R 22420 and left the CIP option in there. I guess, and I don't want to speak for Sarah and the group, but, you know, I think they certainly realize that the operating budget, those, you know, we like to keep those operating budget dollars there.
Yeah, so my concern is that, you know, my personal opinion is that I don't want to touch the operating, you know, component. I don't want to go to the CIP and take the money and then jeopardize or delay park activity, because already our park are kind of, you know, we don't need to take more stuff from our park system, because, you know, some of the park are already neglected and we don't need to take more activities or services from the park. So, so that one my concern is, and I think that if the vehicle, you know, if you have a vehicle and you can live a couple of years without a new vehicle, you know, I will prefer to go with the resolution R10 instead to touch any money allocated to parks from services or projects that we already have to the park system. No, this is my personal opinion. Randy?
Back to Misty. So both of them that you had mentioned that they were both CIPs that I had thrown out there. So really, it's excuse me, but it's the lesser of the two evils.
Yeah.
So both of them are CIP projects,
Yeah.
but Parks one is more of a replacement fund style. We're accumulating an amount in order to do those bigger projects. The vehicle one is actually a very specific vehicle list that's funded as you go. So it's not the traditional replacement fund. It's this particular vehicle this year, and you can see big swings in the project. So they're both capital, but the one is a replacement fund, one isn't.
Gabriela?
I'm sorry, Randy, do you have a follow-up or?
No, it's just a side.
Okay. Misty, I'm looking at the text of the resolution and I'm just curious. So like, we're reducing, for that last paragraph now by resolved, we're reducing the parks equipment budget and for the CIP. We reduced the recreation fee revenue, which is what we expect will be lower because of COVID, which is why we're doing this. And then we transfer that tax levy to the general fund so we can use it for the salaries instead of the equipment. So I guess my question becomes, was that correct? I guess, was that an accurate statement of that? Okay.
Yes, for the most part.
So I guess my question is, if we do happen to get to July and we are able to do rec programming and we start bringing in revenue, can we then like reverse the process and theoretically maybe buy that vehicle, even though we are planning not to if we pass this?
100%. Yep.
Okay, so we can just make an adjustment mid-year or late year to kind of reverse it if we happen to have revenue coming in.
Correct. Yep. If things turn around and there's now a surplus expected in that same function, we would go basically through the same process with a resolution, 2/3 vote, et cetera, to reverse the budget amendment that would be authorized tonight.
Great. Yeah, I guess I'll just make a quick statement. I think this is a legitimate option that I think the council should strongly consider along with the other one. And I think that the fact that it went through the Parks Commission and they felt comfortable with it makes me feel like the parks are being properly advocated for. So I personally think I'm comfortable moving this forward to council with a yes vote.
Do we need to add in the resolution, Misty, in the last paragraph, if we, you know, if the recreational department start generating revenue, we can reverse this, or no? It's implicit.
Yeah, I don't think you need to add that to the resolution.
Okay.
I think that's just something that Scott and I would kind of keep him.
Okay.
You would bring it forward in that situation that happens.
Any other question regarding this? So, are you ready to vote? Okay, all those in favor of resolution R-10-21, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Nay, the motion carry. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. Next, I'm looking motion to approve resolution R-14-21 is the annual purchase of water treatment chemicals.
Motion to approve?
Okay, Misty, this is,
Yep, from the next two are very similar. There's two different chemicals that we use in our water system in order to keep it safe and healthy for our residents to drink. So both of those chemicals, when you look at how much we buy over the year, exceeds that 25,000 threshold. So we're bringing it forward to you as an annual pre-approval so that we can make payments throughout the year as needed.
okay, I have a question that is, my memory now is coming, and maybe it's not related to that, but I want to ask you. Misty, do you know when they're gonna send, when we receive the water bill, sometimes we receive like a voucher with they do like analysis of our water, you know what I mean? Used to do it. We used to receive one. It come in the bill a couple of years ago that they tell you the treat, I don't know how often, because someone asked me about that. How do we know the water in Fitchburg that we're drinking is safe, And that one, someone asked me that question, and I said, we used to receive a brochure with some measurement. Do you know about that? When it's
You're
coming?
talking about the water quality report. And
Yeah.
That will come out. I don't know timing. I can find out and get back to you guys on that.
Yes, please, because that one is, a couple of people asked me because, there's some issue with the wells in the Madison area, so. Okay, thank you. Any other question?
One question for Misty.
Yeah.
Why the two separate resolutions? They look very similar? Am I missing something? Why?
Oh, yeah.
Why are they two?
Yep, they're the two separate vendors. So anytime that we have payments to separate vendors, it kind of has to do its own process.
Makes sense. Thank you.
Are they the same vendor for the same chemical? Different vendor for the same chemical?
Nope, two separate chemicals as well.
Oh, okay. Okay. Oh, here in the resolution is the name of the chemical. Okay.
Yeah, one of them reduces iron and the other one is chlorine or chloride.
Okay. All those in favor of resolution R-14-21, say aye.
Aye.
Nays, the motion carried. Next, I am looking at motion to approve resolution R-15-21 is the annual purchase of water treatment chemicals.
I move approval.
Any question for this one? No? All those in favor of resolution R-15-21, say aye.
Aye.
Nays, the motion carried. So next, I need a motion to approve resolution R-16-21 is the annual purchase of new meters.
Motion to approve.
Okay, so what is this? These are the new water meters?
Yep, so these are the meters that are installed at each property that receives water service from the city. We have a lot of new things happening in the city that is going to need additional meters. And based on the dollar amount in total, we're bringing forward this pre-approval. The individual meters are obviously significantly less than this dollar amount, but in total, they add up to a sizable amount.
Do you know how many we are buying?
I do not. I can find out.
It's curiosity, Any question? No? All those in favor of resolution R-16-21, say aye.
Aye.
Nays, the motion carried. Next, I need a motion to approve resolution R-2121, acceptance of the fire headquarters phase 2 electrical bid.
I move approval.
Okay. Chief.
Sure.
Oh, first, I need to ask, how boards of public works vote yesterday? Approve it? Okay.
Yep.
Okay, Chief.
Chief, you're muted.
I'll vote now. I received information here that my sound wasn't very well, so I'm trying to address that. Can you hear me better?
Yes.
Much better.
All right. Thank you, Scott from Fact TV, for making sure that I'm heard. The next three resolutions are similar in nature I'll provide the explanation as far as why we're addressing this the way that we are. And then obviously, if there's anything that you need to address on a case by case, I'd be happy to answer. As you're well aware, we're going through a remodel at Station 1. The reason why we're doing it in 2 phases is a couple of reasons. We wanted to make sure that, first of all, we had enough funding for it and we didn't overspend the account. Because of the fact that this is a remodel, we weren't exactly sure what we were going to find in the first phase and whether we were going to be close to the budgeted amount. It also allowed for a little bit quicker transition from EOC to EOC because of the fact that we use the Emergency Operations Center for a variety of different reasons, and it being in the basement of City Hall, being moved to this location along with the technology that was being added by Dane County, it made sense to try to get that implemented sooner than waiting for the whole project to complete. We're also working with our tenant, that being Safe Kids and UW Health, to make sure that we weren't impacting their operation to the point where we were putting them in a bad spot because of the space that we were using during the remodel. And we were also using an available workforce. Although I can completely appreciate the priority that our firefighters have in the way of emergency response, there were a couple of things that they were able to help out with this project: demolition, some rough carpentry. We stayed within our scope. We didn't do anything from an electrical or plumbing standpoint, but within the first phase alone, we saved at least $60,000 because of the fact that we were using people who were on duty. And in this second phase, we look to save at least $30,000 because of the fact that we're acting sort of as our own general. And that's, I hate to put it that way, but we're primarily just making sure that those things that are going on in the station, the contractors have access, they understand the operation and the overall location of things within the building. So we really didn't need a general contractor on this one. We used a construction manager on the first phase. And because of some of the issues that we had with the first phase and getting enough bidders, we asked the construction manager to help us out with identifying what the cost would be for the additional services that we needed in the building, so that when we went out to bid, if we didn't have the interest in the bid, we would at least know if the contractor was giving us an accurate bid. And that is the case with a lot of these. We call these significant projects, but they're smaller in the scope as far as what's going on in the Madison area. So not everybody is bidding on these smaller projects. So that's why you have what you have before you in the way of single bidders, is because of the fact that they either came in at the estimated cost of remodel and services or under, based on what a third party gave us, that being our construction manager in the first phase. So there are a couple of different things that we wanted to handle in the second phase: electrical, backup power generation, garage door replacement, paint, landscaping, plumbing, and flooring. I'm not even bringing landscaping, plumbing, and flooring before you because those bid packages were either incomplete or non-existent. And I wanted to make sure that we had a bid that was accurate and identified the work that we wanted done in the building. So that'll be coming to you at a later date. It's important for us right now to address the electrical, backup power generation, and garage door openers, especially since we have Safe Kids here. There are times when we could have children in the apparatus bay. My concern is with the garage doors that we have right now, the safety mechanisms are not functioning properly. And the last thing that I want is to have somebody injured as a result of a garage door coming down. So I'll leave it at that right now, unless you have any specific questions, because I believe the resolution on the table right now is electrical, which includes backup power generation.
Okay, Gabriela.
I have a question. I think it's more for Misty. In terms of like, we always designate 10% contingency. We approve that. Do these projects typically have to dip into contingency, or are we usually coming in at or under budget and not having to use that fund?
From the ones I remember, we usually dip into contingency at least a little bit, but we don't often use all of the contingency.
Okay, so it's like we're pretty much, when these bids come in, they're pretty close to what it will be, and like maybe slightly over. It's very rarely slightly under.
Yeah, actually, in the building of Station 2, which was done now, 4 years ago, we actually dipped in very little into our contingencies. Station 3, a little bit more because there were things that were found during construction. And during remodel, it's just a really good idea because you never know what you're going to find when you start taking stuff down.
Great, thanks.
So the electrical work is, so you need to change everything in that fire station?
Not everything. The outlets and those types of things are going to stay in, but all of the lighting fixtures in this building are fluorescent, with the exception of the remodel that we just did. We're trying to get as much LED in this station as possible. We will get a credit from Focus on Energy, but that's going to have to come after they actually do the install. So I'm not even figuring that into these figures. And that'll actually bring us in, once we receive those credits, a little bit lower than we anticipated, but I'm not using that right now.
Okay. Any other question for the chief? No? All those in favor of resolution R-2121, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Nays, the motion carried. Next, I am looking for a motion to approve resolution R-2221, acceptance of the fire headquarters phase 2 garage door bid.
Motion to approve.
Okay.
So then I already explained a little bit about what we were doing with the garage doors. What we are doing that's a little bit, I guess, a way of saving a little bit of money is we are replacing all of the garage doors on the forward-facing side of our building. And then on the back of our building, we're taking all of the good components off of the existing doors and reutilizing those. We'll replace all of the openers, all of the safety mechanisms, and all of the remotes, but we will rebuild the doors in the back of the station. It'll still look good, but from an aesthetic standpoint, it was more important to replace what we had on the front of the station versus the back of the station.
So the doors are going to be similar to the one in the new fire station, or no?
No, because those are about $65,000 a piece. So no.
Okay, any other question? All those in favor of resolution R-2221, say aye.
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 Aye. Nays, the motion carried. Next, I am looking for a motion to approve resolution R-23-21, acceptance of the fire headquarters phase 2 painting bid.
I move approval.
So I'm very comfortable bringing this forward to you, even though it's the only bid we received. It's the same painter that we used in phase 1. We did put it out there in a variety of, well, first of all, we published it in the Class 2 journal like we were supposed to through ordinance. We addressed it through I got to remember the bid management system, that being Quest CDN. We also reached out to a number of membership entities, Construction Connect, the Construction Journal, trying to get people to bid on the project. And I stopped short of actually going out to get bidders because of the fact that it sort of took away from the sealed bid aspect. But the bidder that we received actually came in quite a bit lower than we anticipated. We were thinking that we were going to be spending about $10,000 in painting, and this without contingency is about $5,800. So I felt pretty comfortable coming forward.
So what are you planning to paint? Everything?
The lower level of Station 1 and the apparatus bay. Now, the reason why those are important, the lower level needs it just based on the fact that it hasn't been painted in a while. And the apparatus bay, that's what we've been using for a lot of different things, from open house, general assembly, and then because Safe Kids uses it for their drive-through child seat checks. It is sort of a focal feature of the department. There's a drive-through aspect. We've actually been using it for some vaccinations. We did the flu vaccines here at Station 1. So we anticipate using that area quite a bit more, and it just makes sense to make that a little bit more presentable.
Okay, any other question? Okay, all those in favor of resolution R-2321, say aye.
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 Nays, the motion carried. Thank you, Chief.
Thank
Are
you
you
very
gonna
much.
stay for council too?
I will definitely be at the council.
Okay, thank you. Next, I need a motion to approve resolution R-28-21, a resolution authorizing payment to Axley Law for 2021 outside legal charges.
Motion to approve.
Misty?
This is another one of those annual pre-approvals. This one in particular is for our labor council that is within budget, but there are just more needs for our labor attorney these days. Plus we have union negotiations starting this year, which may or may not need a labor attorney for that too. So it's coming forward to you again because it's based on the whole year's amount, not the individual bills.
Any question? No? Okay. All those in favor of resolution R-28-21, say aye. Aye. Nays, the motion carried. Thank you. Next, I need a motion to approve resolution R-29-21 Factive Video Switcher Project.
I move approval.
Okay, so we have Jeremy Crosby here. Hi, Jeremy.
Good evening, everybody. How are you doing?
I'm fine. So what are you buying now?
This is part of last year's CIP 2020. We put in for a switcher and studio upgrade. We held off because of the presentations last year of Fact TV and the funding. We wanted to hold back. Plus, with COVID, we wanted to make sure that we didn't make any moves during the season until we knew better funding wise if there was going to be any changes for that. Past that, what you're looking at is a long-term plan of replacing switchers. We use switchers, video switchers, to do the broadcast like we're doing right now. So somebody's sitting at a space and they're switching between multiple cameras. What we're trying to do is eliminate the need to have so many switchers. Currently, we have 8 switchers. And that's switchers at different locations throughout City Hall and portable units as well that we take out into the field. What our goal is, because of the way technology has changed and the way we can network things, we want to combine switchers, cut down, and move old switchers around in kind of a pattern to retire old ones and also condense. So in the council chambers perspective, that's the one we're replacing. It has the most inputs, which poses the most cost because we have to have, there's 7 cameras in the council chambers. So we have to have at least 7 inputs, and they usually come in rows of 4 input. So we had to get an 8. But basically, we'll be able to network any of the cameras from any of the locations within our city property to a specific switcher. So we can basically say if you're sitting in, you guys do a meeting in the meeting room normally with finance, that where that meeting would normally be, we'd be able to control that from the council chambers area and essentially eliminating the need to have so many switchers. And as you can see, switchers aren't cheap, and you can cut some of the cost down at a 4 input switcher. But at the time, you had to physically have switchers to do these live broadcasts with multiple cameras. And that is no longer the case. And because we are fully integrated within City Hall, working with Matt, we're able to, again, condense these switchers down to less, and then take the current switchers that we have and move them and keep replacing the old switchers out. So it's just part of a long-term plan. No, that's a lot of information, but that's the short end of it. So the one at the one that's currently sitting at council chambers that they're using right now would be moved and used in a different location, and then we would slowly again remove and replace or not use them anymore.
Question? No?
Pretty straightforward.
Yeah, very easy to understand, yeah. All those in favor of resolution R-21, 29, 21, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Nay, the motion carried. Next, I need a motion to approve resolution R-33-21, resolution authorizing the purchase of land from Stoner Prairie HDP associated with future well number 12.
Motion to approve.
Okay. So what is this?
So this is a land purchase that will be building a well over in the new Stoner Prairie area. The amount of land and the dollar price for the land was set in the subdivision improvement agreement that was authorized by council prior, but it really was just an option to purchase it as part of that agreement. Now we actually want to trigger that option and go and buy the land. So that's why it's in front of you again, to spend the $50,000 and purchase that land for the well.
So I have a question. So we are gonna build a well there?
In the future, yep. Number 12.
Like a tower tank or no? Or like a,
I don't believe it's a tower. I think it's a well.
oh, okay.
There is another tower in the CIP though, I think. I'm not sure where it's gonna be, but I think there's another tower coming in the next 10 years.
Yeah, I think
You
there's E and F are both kind of on their way. I know one is over here by City Hall, and I don't recall where the other one is.
Yeah, I asked a question in the past, the location of the well, and they have numbers because we want to keep the location of the well private because, you know, they are like, it's a safety thing, you know, so they have a number, no name. So, okay. So eventually we need to build this well, so we need this. Okay.
Mhm.
So that one, you said that it was approved, the purchase in the subdivision.
So the subdivision improvements agreement included the option to
Oh, the
purchase
option.
it. So the dollar amount and the size of the piece of land, but it didn't actually, council didn't give staff the ability to actually go and make the purchase. That subdivision improvement agreement just included the option.
This, the $50,000, the money is coming from that subdivision improvement fee?
From the water impact fees.
Okay. That is a future revenue.
So we collect water impact fees from all of the new buildings that go up. And so
Oh,
we
okay.
do have an amount of money set aside that's restricted to these type of infrastructure.
Oh, okay. Any other question? No? Okay, all those in favor of resolution R-33-21, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Nay, the motion carries. So we are at the end of our action items. So next is our announcement, and the next Finance Committee meeting will be February 9th, 2021. Any other announcement, Misty?
Nope, none.
No? Okay, so I need a motion to adjourn.
Adjourn.
All those in favor of adjourning at 6:41, say aye.
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 Nays, the motion carries. So we are done at 6:41. Thank you very much, everyone.